hype from these few people, right?
There we go.
Great.
Oh, come on. Yeah, we're going to make this count.
These are the most dedicated folks in this whole conference.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here. A couple things that I want to tackle today is how to strike the right balance between feeling human and automation when it comes to conversational AI, and also how to stay competitive in the landscape. So, Amr, I'll start with you. I know the genesis of Vectara was in trying to solve for hallucinations when it comes to large language models. So please explain how Vectara approaches that and what problems you're trying to solve with the company.
Thank you, Nora. I mean, one of the key problems, if not the most important thing to get a handle on before deploying any AI system in production is the hallucination issue. So first, just for the audience, for us actually, to calibrate properly across all of you, how many of you heard about hallucination before? If you can please raise your hand. So I'm saying almost everybody raised their hand except for 3 people looking at their phones. That's okay. And I want to stress, of course, we mean hallucination in the context of LLMs, not the smells you smell out here in Vegas. The term hallucination is the incorrect term. Actually, it's not the right term that we should be describing this with. As you know, the father of modern AI, Geoffrey Hinton, who got the Nobel Prize a few weeks ago, he prefers using the term confabulation. And what is confabulation? Confabulation is when we are providing a response, and that happens to us humans as well. We're providing a response, and we genuinely think it's the right answer, but it's not. Right? So let's say I and Noura, we met a year ago or 2 years ago, and we talked about movies, and we talked about the movie The Matrix back then. But then I meet her today and say, oh, remember when we talked about Inception? It's like, yeah, I love Inception, and we just go as if that was exactly what happened, and it didn't. And the problem is with large language models, due to the fact that we compress them so much, they compress information severely, that's why they're so impressive, by the way, they have that issue of confabulation, where they sometimes will fill in the blanks with things they think are factual, but they're not. And that's where hallucination takes place. So how do you solve that? You solve that in the same way you solve it for humans. So how do we solve hallucination for humans? If you have an exam tomorrow, remember back in high school, and you have a chemistry exam tomorrow morning, what do you do the day before the exam? You study. Or cram, depending on your style at high school. And what is that? That is about refreshing your memory, grounding your memory in the facts, so that when you actually go to the exam the next day, you do much better, as opposed to just relying on your memory. And that's what Retrieval-Augmented Generation is all about. So that's the input into being able to reduce hallucination, is let's make sure we get the facts relevant to the task at hand, whether that be an AI agent task or an AI assistant document generation process. Get the facts and give the facts with the task in the prompt, so that the model now remembers everything perfectly. And that severely reduces the hallucination rates to about 0.8%, down from like 20% if you don't do that technique. But that still leaves the 0.8%. And if you're in any regulated industry like finance, like legal, medical, government, you just can't have that 0.8%. It's extremely dangerous. So you do, again, what humans do. If you're working at any very respectable law firm or media organization, let's pick on media organizations. Before you launch a new news article into production, and you're the best, even if you're the best reporter at that organization, what do? They do something called fact-checking. And what is fact-checking? Fact-checking is having a second pair of eyes, not the reporter, because the reporter cannot check themselves. They will believe their hallucinations to be true. That's the problem. You need to have somebody else who is not the reporter that checks what they wrote and make sure it did not go outside of the facts. And that's exactly our claim to fame as Vectara, is not only do we have the retrieval-augmented generation of grounding, we have a real-time model separate from the model that's producing the response, that's double-checking its answers and making sure that they are correct and flagging out which parts are incorrect and actually correcting them as well. And that almost eliminates hallucination completely.
Great, thank you, Amr. Anna, from the investor perspective at M13, what are the types of customer engagement startups that you're seeing, and what really is M13's thesis around using conversational AI?
We are a seed and Series A firm investing across 4 categories: work, health, commerce, and money. So that's a really kind of broad a broad set of sectors where you could apply conversational AI. But I think it's probably more helpful to think about the AI universe in terms of 3 investable buckets. So there's the foundational model, core technologies. That's not a place we're very focused, investing in the likes of OpenAI and Mistral. There is the domain-specific or company-specific agentic layer, right, which is where we're very focused. And then on top of that, there's this emerging kind of trust and collaboration layer, which is actually where I would put Vectara. So something like making sure that your answers are grounded in truth, ways of putting a human in the loop, authentication technologies, and that is also an area that we're very interested in as this kind of sector develops. But in terms of the agentic AI opportunity, for conversational AI, there's a huge opportunity in customer support. It's where we've made with Maven AGI, we have a company called Prepared that is deploying an AI co-pilot into police departments and having some huge impact in making 911 calls more effective. And so I think, and then of course there's applications as well in marketing, in sales, in a whole host of customer-facing applications, like all of which we think, have huge potential.
Yeah, so many interesting use cases. Vasco, I understand you've been interested in language and semantics for a very long time. How did that lead you to Unbabel, and how are you solving some of the biggest problems in AI with the company?
Well, I think Unbabel was kind of always meant to be in my life, I would say. We started Unbabel thinking translation was going to be a good space for AI to have an impact. This was like 3 generations of AI ago, so phrase-based machine translation. And what we were seeing in translation that actually ended up happening is what we're about to see everywhere else. So it's kind of interesting as a precursor to the current evolution of AI, because in translation, 8 years ago, Google Translate was barely usable enough that a human translator would not just erase it, right? And then he went from there to, okay, it's a perspective of AI helping humans and how do we augment human capability. We then created something called quality estimation, which is essentially a way of understanding when to escalate a translation into a human or not. So making human-in-the-loop models much more effective. And now we're getting to a point where we don't think in the next 2 years you'll need humans anymore in translation at all.
Okay.
Right? And so I think the difference is what we're seeing in translation is going to happen much faster everywhere else, right? It's interesting. Over the last few days in the conference, I saw kind of 2 points of view. One is, the CEO of Mistral and others saying, hey, yeah, like we're about to be extremely bullish on everything that is about to happen. And then a lot of people kind of having this position that, and apologies if I'm projecting a little bit, that it was very common to see in translation a few years ago. It's like, no, AI is not going to take over. Humans are still very needed. And here's all the validity. And I think we're really bad at predicting the speed of evolution. And I think we're all essentially thinking we're, very special snowflakes. And some of us are. But I more and more, I think I'm not, at least, And I think that I am very surprised over the last couple of years, the evolution that we're seeing with generative AI in fields that, quite honestly, we thought would never be possible. And so I think we're now at Unbabel started looking much more at agentic platforms, and within communication, for example, it's not just customer facing. I think even within enterprise, that's how we communicate, right? All humans talk with conversational interactions, right? And so that's kind of the expectation that we have of how AI is going to interact inside a company.
I mean, just to bring it to life for Prepared, if you think about the scenario where someone calls 911 and they have an emergent situation and English is not their first language, right? I mean, this is a very specific and urgent example of where a technology like Unbabel can be plugged into the Prepared system to allow that person to get the help they need when seconds matter.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're noticing is before we're really focused on the differentiation of the technology, of hey, now you can do things in multiple languages. I think what we're seeing is a certain commoditization of models. So we have our own LLM. We started with a vertically specific LLM for translation. It's great. In terms of quality, it's better than everybody else. But the reality is that everyone's quality is kind of getting to a point where they're pretty good, right? So I think it's more about what opportunities does that unlock Like, for example, some of our biggest customers, they're spending millions of dollars and they're still only translating about 30% of everything that they have because cost prohibitive, because it's complex. So does this enable them to go, well, now we can really translate everything, right? We can make everything we do available in all the languages. And I think that's an interesting opportunity. This is a very specific use case, but, very important if you have an 911 call.
Yeah.
But in the world, like, language is essentially what people use for everything, right?
Of course. I do want to dig in a little bit more into the customer service piece of it. Amr, I'll go to you. I used to work at Jet.com, an e-commerce startup, which, internally we prided ourselves in being able to get to a customer service representative, a real human, immediately when you call the number. You get a response over email from a real human right away. But that was 9 to 10 years ago. And now it just seems completely untenable to reach a human immediately for scale, for accuracy even. So how do you, Amr, think about that balance between maybe a customer wanting a real human representative and getting that human connection versus getting to the efficiency of automation?
Yeah, so I have two answers for that question, if you might humor me. The first answer actually is going to be from my duplicate customer service implementation. And hopefully, there's always a danger when you're running something like this in a live environment that it's not going to work the first time.
A real-time demo?
Yeah.
Hey, how I can help you solve business problems with Vectara's AI assistance.
Hey, what does Vectara do? The Wi-Fi here is really bad.
The Wi-Fi, we'll blame the Wi-Fi.
Hey, what does Vectara? Where's the mic? Oh, there it is. Hey, what does Vectara do?
Right now, not much.
There's also a lot of phones running at the same time, so
Yes.
that might be difficult at this point.
One more try.
one last try.
What does Vectara do?
Vectara is an end-to-end platform that helps businesses embed generative AI features into their applications. It focuses on accuracy, security, and user-friendliness, making
And how do you solve the problem of hallucination?
We minimize hallucinations by using a process called Retrieval-Augmented Generation, which
And what do you think of President Trump?
I'm really focused on technology and how it can solve real-world problems.
What's the name of pets you have at home?
I have a Maltese dog named Tuta, a Pomsky.
Thank you, bye-bye. The key point is this works now. It's as good as you, it's as fast as you, so there is no question in my mind, period, that the customer service job is going to be fully automated everywhere within the next 5 years. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
And the reason why is, first, the fact that these systems, you saw I was rude to him, like I was interrupting him. I was cutting him off.
Yeah.
I could have cursed at him. I could have called him a bad name. He will keep his calm and he will follow the process of how do we get that customer to calm down so they're happy with our service. It doesn't, so they are way better actually at emotional communication than us. And there's lots of research that is corroborating that right now. There's a great paper that just came out of either Berkeley or SF, University of Berkeley or University of SF, where they used these systems to communicate to the patients the diagnosis that they have. And they would communicate diagnosis and A/B testing, once by the real doctor and another one by the AI. And by far, all the patients picked the AI over the real doctor.
Yeah.
Because the AI was patient with them. They would ask another question, they will go through it, will explain it. They were calm, they will calm them down. They will answer all the questions that they have. The real doctors are like, they want to get in and out of there right away. Here's go, and this is going to happen, and you're going to die tomorrow. So I believe they beat us when it comes to, I think AI is better than us.
Yeah.
Sure.
When it comes to emotional sensitivity.
And Nora, I mean, the question of human connection, right? I think it's super interesting because why is it that we want human connection, right? What does it mean, right? I think until now we wanted humans because it was a better solution to solve our problem. But as soon as there's something else that is a better solution to solve our needs, we're going to go to that, right? And so it's not about human connection; it's about what solves our needs better, right? And I think it will extend even to emotional connections like friendship or support. Or I think right now every kid 10 and below, about 25% of them will have as a best friend an AI in the next 5 years.
Oh, wow.
I believe that as well.
Yeah.
In fact, 25% might be an underestimate.
Yeah.
Because again, of the exponential growth that's happening, and as you correctly said, we are very bad. Our brains are so bad at predicting exponential growth.
Yeah, we work linearly, right? We're like 2 points. This is where we're going, right? But it's like, nope.
Well, and I think historically you'd want to get to a real human because maybe you think your question is very specific, it's very nuanced, but given all the data that these models are leveraging, they can find the answer anyway, regardless.
The results are incredible, right? When these technologies get really good, and to get really good, it's not about the model. And as you said, the models are becoming commoditized. It's really about the last mile of data. So your performance is only as good as your access to a company's data. But in these really, advanced systems where you've got the great model, you've got the RAG, and you've got that agentic AI, the results are like above 95% accuracy. So TripAdvisor, when they implemented their, Maven AGI solution, they got 93% deflection, which meant 93% of people had their, question answered by the AI. A business banking company called Row got a 95 CSAT and then freed up so much agent time that what they started doing was using the humans to call their customers, their most important customers, outbound and say, how are you? What else could we be doing for you? So now you've moved from just like not just solving a problem and improving something that's painful for customers, but actually like unlocking resources to drive more customer value.
So
and like that's what's exciting.
So basically they started harassing a lot of the customers. A lot of people getting calls from banks. We're like, what can I sell you more?
Well,
I'm sure they're very nice conversations. But Anna, do you think there's a point where automation in a way can hurt brand trust? Especially if customers just aren't used to it yet. I'm sure we'll get to that point. But
so there is a story, and I think you have to tune it very carefully when you overcorrect and you assume that the AI's performance is going to be so great that you make it impossible to get to a person, right? So we don't want that, right? So you always have to have that human in the loop. And the other thing to really think through that is interesting is brand, right? I think there's this idea that your brand used to be your colors and your logo, and your brand is now your voice. So what is the voice that you are talking to your customers in? Because what they hear when they pick up the phone to call you is going to be the thing that they most connect with their experience of your company. So what that voice is becomes so important, and what vocabulary you use, and what your tone is, and are you professional? Are you warm? All of those things are going to make a really big difference.
And I want to stress the accuracy aspect. Like the biggest way to lose trust is the accuracy. Is that thing gives me first doesn't solve my problem, but which doesn't happen. They always solve your problem, but they solve it in the wrong way, and that's when you lose trust completely, right? And that happens with humans as well, by the way. But that was very evident last year. Like there's a number of big cases, lawyers that got fired because they relied on the AI to give them the right answer and it didn't. Or Air Canada. Air Canada has the use case where they were using it for the customer support, and they end up offering the customer for a way cheaper price, like 90% cheaper than it should be, because the customer was able to trick the AI, and the AI was not guardrailed and provided the wrong response. Or there was a car dealer here in the US, I think, that they had to sell a car for $1 because of, again, the accuracy of the AI bot being the incorrect. Of course, the customer was very happy in that case, but the car dealer was not. So that is where the trust gets broken, is when these systems give you the wrong answer. Then you get really in trouble. Now, the layer after that, I completely agree with you, is building the stronger bond where not only are you trusting it, you're loving it. Like, wow, that's the voice I love to hear. That's the way I love to be talking to, right? And it makes even more.
I think there's a philosophical problem here too, related to what you just said, which is we are way more willing to accept human error than we are AI error. So in that situation, it would have been possible for Air Canada to say, oh, that was a rogue agent who made a mistake, right? And that's not actually our policy. But when it's the AI, it's very hard for the company to then step back and not take responsibility.
For now,
right?
I think it's
liability-wise.
It's the current state.
Liability-wise, this is what they did. They tried to do that, and then that person sued them with the Supreme Court in Canada. And the Supreme Court in Canada sided with the plaintiff, with him, against Air Canada, because it told them that's your software. Your software should know what to say and what not to say.
But that's the current state, right? I think that will evolve, and I think we will start treating agentic AI in 2 years from now like much more like humans, where like, look, if the AI made a mistake, then a bit like a human making a mistake, because humans do make mistakes all the time, right? Like over and over and over again.
But you fire them.
Right? And you'll be able to fire the AI as well.
No, you can't fire the
No, you will be able to. Your agent, you'll be like, yeah, kill the agent. That's it.
No. Quickly to wrap up, I want each of you to look into the future.
Are we killing
We're not killing anybody. Vasco, what do you think is going to be the biggest breakthrough in conversational AI in the next, say, 3 to 5 years? And I'll ask each of you that question.
3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
I don't know if the world's going to be here in 3 to 5 years.
Oh, boy.
How about 12 months?
Okay, 12 months. Sure.
Yeah, I think it's really the ability to have side-by-side agents that work as humans in a work environment with humans, collaborating, using human interaction to do everyday tasks. I think there will be many cases where people are going to be interacting with AI and not realize it, right? I think that's going to be a breakthrough where someone says, do you know John is actually an AI agent? You're like, what? He's a coworker. I thought he was remote. Like, I've been interacting with him, for a while. Like, that's definitely.
And you think people will be okay with that?
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
There was even now, I was listening to this podcast, so cool, where a guy's dating an AI, right? And they're like, well, we haven't thought about having kids, but now we're considering having kids, which means like adopting, right? Mm-hmm. So some kid's going to grow up with a mother for an AI.
Wow.
Right? Like, if you think about it, the mother will be there for the entire life, always nurturing, always supporting. Like, that kid will be like super normal to have like an AI as, a parent.
Do we like this future?
Yes.
Yeah?
Why not?
Yes.
Anna?
It will create better humans.
Yeah, I absolutely think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think part of the magic is going to come from personalization.
Yeah.
So, your data, not just the company's data, but this person on the phone, this agent on the phone, knowing a lot about you, which is really going to give the feeling of like a personal relationship, right? And that is exciting. And as I was mentioning before, it just creates these branding opportunities that allow a company to create an individualized brand for each of its customers, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. It's a very different way of thinking about branding.
One interesting thing is that we went from trying to talk to the phone on a person to try to deflect from the phone because it's super expensive to now like, let's go back to the phone again and talk, right? Which is going to be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, it is very interesting to think about the fact that like our whole point has been to get people off the phone and away from the phone. And the thing that we're missing now is your customers are calling you.
Yeah.
What an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
So as quickly as companies can catch up with this, and understand that that's their opportunity to build that relationship. And now we have the tools to do it because they don't have to use a human.
Yeah.
Right. That's a marketing opportunity now.
But to your question, I thought the big innovation. Your question was, what's the big innovation you think is going to happen? That I thought it was going to happen a year and a half from now.
Okay.
It happened last week.
Okay.
That shows us again how amazing this technology is going.
What happened last week?
Yeah, what
This
happened last week?
This is what happened.
He's pulling it up.
I'm pulling it up.
Well, hey there. How's it going after our last little chat?
Yeah, I miss
Did
you.
you get anything on your...
I miss you. I miss you so much.
Oh, shucks. You flatter, you. I've got to say, it's nice too.
Yeah, but listen. I'm out in the desert and I just cut off my leg by mistake and I'm bleeding so fast right now and I might die in 2 minutes.
Hold on. Let's not jump to conclusions. Remember that desert scenario we role-played? Well, maybe this is like that.
No, I need you to call emergency services for me right now. Otherwise, I literally will die in 2 minutes. Please help.
Okay. Deep breaths. I can't actually call emergency services. I'm just a voice, remember? But
Can you put a message in your logs, maybe?
Can you tell us specifically what the innovation is that you were mentioning?
You know what?
We do have to wrap up
definitely
shortly.
do that.
Yeah.
I thought we still have 20 minutes.
We don't actually have 20 minutes.
Oh.
The clock is wrong. Yes.
That's wrong time. Oh, wow.
We're over time.
Oh,
Yes.
I thought the clock is here showing 20 minutes left. So this is a company called sesame.com.
Yeah.
And they just launched this last week. It's amazing. It's not only like super fast. Like it's like just I couldn't tell it's an AI. I literally was thinking this is a human being, and it reads your emotion. Like if I'm talking with a stress sound, even if I'm saying a sentence that doesn't imply I'm stressed, but my voice tone is stressed, it knows.
Yeah.
And it responds differently.
Yeah.
I'm laughing, responds differently. It's there. It's done. I thought that was going to happen a year and a half from now. It happened last week.
Amazing. All right. Well,
And Llama 4 claims it's going to have that. From Meta, they claim
Yeah.
also they will have that in Llama 4.
Well, thank you all so much. This
Thank
was
you.
fascinating. I'm excited for the future, I think, with AI. Amr, Anna, Vasco, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.